Welcome, future warriors, the ones brave enough to stare into the dark and search for light. Asterisk. Asterisk. This is Cosmic Hypothesis, where science collides with myth and imagination explodes like a big bang across the mind and the cosmos. Today, you're not just watching a story. You're entering a nightmare born from humanity's own faith. This is the journey of the Helix warriors, the final titans. They weren't made to live. They were made to stand in the ruins of fallen gods. If you crave the war between justice and extinction, between emotion and code, between mankind and what used to be divine, hit that subscribe button now, because this war has only just begun. Horus 7 base didn't sound an alarm when it was invaded. No sirens, no red lights, just silence. A silence thick like ash, blanketing a dead moon. Chief Engineer Elias Thorne woke on the cold concrete floor, blood dripping from his hand, next to the headless body of the engineering supervisor. Every breath was a battle for survival. In his panic, Elias saw something terrifying: roots sprouting from the skin of a corpse stuck to the ceiling. The blood vessels of his colleagues had become organic tendrils, feeding a foreign entity. It didn't merely kill it, rebuilt. Elias dragged himself down the corridor, where steel walls had been replaced by pulsating tissue that throbbed in sync with some massive, unseen heart. Whispers slithered through the vents. Join the bloom. Silence is eternal. He rammed his head into the steel door, screaming until his throat tore. It opened. Beyond it, the signal station, his final hope. Blood gushed from Elias's torn back as he crawled to the console. Standard frequencies were jammed, whatever it was understood human communication. But there was one last shot. The Argus frequency, a pre-invasion military channel banned after the Helix project shut down. Elias activated it. Digits flickered amid electrical sparks. On a nearby security feed, he saw the last survivors, dragged from the shelter still breathing being, turned into Bio-Foundation units. This is Chief Engineer Elias Thorne. I'm transmitting from Horus 7. If anyone out there hears this, we're out of time. He coughed violently, black blood spilling from his lips. Something, biological, non-sentient, has breached the colony. It's not invading, it's consuming. They call it the Bloomin' intelligence that spreads through living tissue, assimilating technology and memory. Elias touched the console. A monitor flickered, showing a little girl with neurotubes drilled into her eyes. His daughter. Elias screamed, shattering the panel with his fist, yet he kept recording. They're growing a neural reproduction system, using humans as hosts. My daughter was one of the first. Metallic scraping echoed behind him, something crawling along the ceiling. He had seconds. I've activated the Argus frequency. If Helix still exists, if those monsters still live, wake them up. He slammed the send button just as a tendril skewered his shoulder. Blood sprayed like a geyser. Elias collapsed, hand grasping a backup switch. His blood-slicked mechanical arm twitched, but he succeeded. A yellow light blinked. The final data burst transmitted. Behind him, the flesh entity emerged. A creature with a human face. Beast, like jaws. Skin stitched from multiple bodies, and hundreds of childlike eyes. Elias stared at it. No scream. Just a whisper. I didn't die for nothing. And then he pulled the plasma grenade from his gut. The explosion ripped apart the signal room. The data was fragmented, but it made it through. Destination, Earth. In the Southern Ocean, 30 meters beneath the dark ice, a facility named the Black Prism spoke for the first time in 200 years. No humans, no staff, just a synthetic voice echoing, Argus frequency activated, encrypted data received, initiating Helix protocol. In the dark, 7 biochambers began to glow red. In the capital of the United Earth Union, General Alina Voron was delivering a press briefing on permanent non-aggression policy when the red phone rang. No one had ever seen the back end of the Black Prism. No one remembered the Helix protocol because they chose not to. Within 3 hours, she was in sublevel 77 of the Defense Ministry. A trembling screen played the last of the transmission. Wake the monsters. Voron froze. She had once been a Helix researcher. She had voted to bury them. My fault, Voron muttered, though no one understood why. Meanwhile, beneath the sea, the Helix began to open their eyes. H1, Dagger, Tactical Intelligence. H2, Malachi, biomutant strength. H3, Vex, neural melee. H4, Coring, infiltration and sabotage. H5, Lyra, psychological contagion. H6, Vox, communication and control. H7, Aegis, artillery and defense. Together, they whispered across the psychic link. Orders received. Target confirmed. The hunt begins. Vox, the communications unit, intercepted the full signal. Voice identified. Sender, Elias Thorne. Location, Horus, 7. Time sent, 22 hours ago. Dagger replied. Horus, 7 is a restricted zone. All patrols were banned after the Mars event, 2 decades ago. Vex narrowed her eyes, voice like frost. The government fears the truth. They sealed it not to protect us, but to hide it. Corin nodded. It's time we broke the seal. They didn't need machines. They were machines. Monsters, shaped by humanity, then buried alive. For 200 years in cryosleep, each helix maintained subconscious awareness. They had studied, evolved, perfected themselves. So when reawakened, there was no shock, only readiness. Objective: reach Horus. 7. Investigate. Eliminate biological threat level Omega. Retrieve data. Punish. Aegis nodded, his armored joints humming with the rhythm of war. At the same time, an abandoned outpost on Jupiter's moon Io transmitted a strange echo, a whisper in Elias Thorne's voice, though he was clearly dead. Analysts confirmed the waveform contained living neural patterns. His voice was alive within the frequency. Part of Elias might have been absorbed by Bloom. Lyra murmured. It doesn't just eat flesh, it consumes memory. Malachi growled. Then we'll carve it open and take everything back. The tactical ship Rift 9 powered up. In the cockpit, Dagger plotted a path through restricted space. Corin mapped the signal structure, detecting Bloom's spread toward nearby satellites. Vox broadcast a grim report. This isn't isolated. Bloom is testing its expansion using humans as vectors. Vorin watched from command. This isn't just a rescue mission. It's a race against the apocalypse. Rift 9 plunged into the void, where even light dared not linger. Elias Thornlust of the Fathershad lit a flame. The Helix, hated and hidden, now summoned as mankind's final blade. No medals, no flags, only blood, only fear, and only the truth, rewritten in the blood of those who dared call themselves gods. Far from Horus 7, something vast writhed beneath violet clouds, its roots piercing through the atmosphere. A colossal eye began to open, and within, ancient whispers spoke in 1,000 human voices. We are Bloom. We are the new dawn. But Rift 9 did not slow. In the war chamber, the 7 Helix sat still as statues, awaiting the first command. And then, Dagger spoke. Open the doors. We enter hell. The black prism appeared on no military map. It existed under no designation, no code name, no oversight system. It simply did not exist. Built deep beneath Antarctica's tectonic shelf, the facility was the final biomilitary incubation chamber of the pre-ban era. Every brick was signed in the blood of traitors, for this was not a place that created heroes. It created things that should never exist. And now, it had awakened. Dagger stood inside the glass chamber, his armored hand pressed against the inner wall like a man emerging from his grave. His gaze scanned the environment. No staff, no life cycles, only automated systems and mechanical groans. In a nearby pod, Malachi stood, mouth lined with self-healing scars, his bio-eyes glowing a sickly yellow. We really woke up? He asked, voice low, almost regretful. Dagger replied, we were called. At the same time, Lyra emerged from her cryopod, naked and damp like a newborn creature. But her eyes weren't new. They carried the intelligence of 3 PhDs and the killing instinct of a predator. She touched her neck where the neural implant was reactivating after 200 years of sleep. Anyone alive? She asked. Vox answered through the internal link. No. Prism was placed in death mode. Everyone either left us or died, fearing what they created. In the reactivation bay, a Gisti towering war machine stood in silence. His bio-armor began regenerating, reweaving metallic fibers inch by inch. Each beat of his mechanical heart brought back an armor system as ancient and formidable as living Roman plate. From the ceiling vents, spider-like drones crawled down, scanning for life signs, then retreated, as Aegis looked up and growled. "No diagnostics needed," he said, voice like a hammer striking a bell. "I am awake." Down the western corridor, Corin had reactivated Black Prism's Level 9 lab. For 37 minutes, she reviewed old footage where scientists cloned, tested, and incinerated children who failed Helix standards. She didn't cry. She memorized every face. "We were once test subjects. Now we are weapons. But there's one difference." Her voice darkened. "This time, we choose the target." General Alina Voron stepped into Prism for the first time in over 2 centuries. Level 0 felt like a prehistoric tomb dust-covered glass. Research rooms permanently sealed. She walked directly to the central command chamber, where Jackson the AI, fused from the minds of 3 top military strategists, was rebooting. "Initiate full Helix protocol," she commanded. "Bypass all ethical safeguards," the AI responded. "Warning, this action is irreversible. Acknowledged. Restarting hell." The lowest floor of the vault of Helix genetic keyslit, up for the first time in 218 years. Vox entered, followed by Dagger and Lyra. Inside the DNA vault, thousands of failed Helix subjects were in cryo-sleep, each marked unstable. Some still breathed. Some had melted. Lyra stopped before a chamber containing a deformed replica of herself, snake-wide eyes, mottled skin. "This is me, when they tried to clone identity," she said. "And they call us monsters." Dagger reviewed the structural data. "Prism is programmed to self-destruct if Helix codes are stolen," he noted. "We need to extract biosamples to ensure if Bloom consumes us. Our memories can't be replicated." Malachi stepped forward, sliced his fingertip with a bone saw, and dripped blood into the decoder. "We now have anti-Bloom genetic locks. None of us can be captured," Corin said coldly. "If I'm taken, delete me. Completely." In a sealed eastern vault, they found something that should not exist. Project Mirage. A Helix merged with dark matter. A humanoid lay still in a glass tank, surrounded by warped space. "It's not awake?" asked Aegis. "No," Vox replied. "It's dreaming. And in that dream, it moved." Dagger ordered, "Seal it. If Bloom reaches this entity, it could fracture reality." Lyra whispered, "They created a Godan, buried him alive." Back in the command room, Voron opened the internal channel. "Helix units, status report." Each voice replied clear, sharp, like commands from divine edicts. Dagger, tactical, ready. Lyra, bio, intellect, stable. Aegis, combat armor, operational. Vox, comms jamming online. Corin, stealth, sabotage, primed. Malachi, combat mutation, exceeding limits. Voron nodded. "Then tell me, do you remember Horus 7? Dagger answered, "We never forget the cries." No one answered. Lyra presented her analysis of Bloom. "It's a hive-mind entity, capable of consuming knowledge and reusing intellect. It doesn't just want to feed it, wants to become. Evolution not by sequence, but by memory assimilation," Corin added. "If it absorbs enough Helix, it could become an all-knowing god." Aegis clenched his fists, joints crackling. "We won't let that happen," Malachi murmured. "I was once the monster. Now, I'm the cure." The Rift 9 dropship awaited on the launch pad. A teardrop-shaped device was embedded in each Helix's NECA cognition fuse. If any of them were compromised, the device would detonate their skull in 0.7 seconds. Voron looked through the observation glass. 7 creatures, 7 souls warped by their creators, now repurposed as humanity's final antidote. "We're sorry," she whispered. Dagger turned, eyes void of emotion. "We don't need apologies, we need orders. Approach Horus 7. Locate Bloom's origin. Rescue survivors. Eliminate the threat. And, if necessary, erase the entire planet," Voron commanded. No one flinched. No hesitation. They were doomsday instruments. "I request updates upon arrival," she added. Vox chuckled softly. "If we're still alive." Rift 9 sealed shut, cloaking systems activated, and in under 4 minutes, the ship vanished from Earth's sky, heading into a region where light never returns. In the dark vault, Mirage opened its eyes. No one saw. No sensors registered it. Reality itself denied its existence. Yet it dreamed, and in that dream, Elias Thorne was being devoured by 1,000,000 neural cords. Mirage whispered, "I see you, engineer. I see the girl, bound in blood." A pulse of black energy flickered, then vanished. Prism continued sleeping, but somewhere in deep space, a forbidden memory had been awakened. Vorin stood alone in the prism. The dim red lights bathed her face once, a symbol of peace. She knew this was the beginning of something far greater. If Helix failed, humanity would never get a second chance. But if Helix succeeded, would humanity still deserve to survive? She whispered into the darkness. We've unleashed monsters from the pit, but this time, we pray the monsters win. Rift 9 pierced space like a red needle threading through the flesh of the cosmos, its cloaking system activated. From afar, Horus 7 appeared like a dead gem shrouded in twisting violet clouds, its atmosphere vibrating as if breathing. Lyra peered through the glass. No signs of structures on the surface, but I see biological forms. Dagger nodded. We enter through the South Pole, disperse on descent, avoid bloom clusters. Vox scanned neural waves. I hear whispers, as if the planet itself is conscious. 7 drop pods slipped silently from Rift 9, slicing through the atmosphere like blades through veins. No sound, no reflected light, only shadow. Upon impact, bio-cushion systems allowed the Helix to rise instantly. The surrounding terrain was a forest of fleshatch tree, a twisted human spine, branches like living arteries. Malachi murmured, "We're walking on their graveyard." Aegis silently drew the warhammer from his back. Then, let's turn it into a battlefield. Lyra took point, her sensors analyzing the air. Biolayers are saturated, but there are signs of human life. Recently, Dagger signaled a fan-out formation. Corin and Vox moved west toward a collapsed structure sunken in living flesh. They found a wall fragment bearing the Horus 7 logo. New Eden, new hope. Malachi smashed through a wall, revealing a shelter. Inside, corpses, not killed by Bloombutt suicide. A mother held her child, their heads fused together by meat. They chose death over assimilation, Aegis growled. Dagger inspected the tissue. No cellular division. Bloom didn't touch them. They ended themselves out of fear. Vox stepped closer. I hear screaming not from throats, from neurons embedded in the meat. It's storing memories. A nearby wall pulsed. Elias Thorne appeared crying, begging for his daughter. But there were no cameras, no projectors. Bloom was replaying his memories. We're being studied, Lyra whispered. It's analyzing our reactions like a surgeon studying anatomy before a cut. Dagger exhaled. Don't react. Don't let it learn what we are. But Corin suddenly turned. Movement southeast, 500 meters. They ran. An intact house stood amid the fleshy wasteland. Inside, 3 people, a woman, a girl, and a boy sat trembling, eyes hollow. But bioscanners detected no heartbeat. Malachi approached, hand out. The boy lifted his head. Smiling, hideous teeth grew deep into his tongue. Welcome back, he said, in Elias's voice. Lyra recoiled. No, Bloom doesn't just absorb body sit, uses memories as weapons. The boy stood, body warping. From his chest bloomed a neural bud emitting interference waves. Corin screamed, clutching her head. Vox instantly triggered an EMP fuse, erasing all signals. The house burst into flame. Lyra pulled Corin from the wreckage. We need memory defenses, Aegis suggested. Neural firewalls. Lock short-term recall. Dagger agreed. Disable emotional memory. From now on, we fight without a past. Meanwhile, Vox intercepted a new signal. Distress beacon from Horus, 7's central basement. Dagger clenched his fist. If it's Elias, or whatever remains, we have to go. The Horus 7 Center was a grotesque architectural beast, consumed by biology. Once made of titanium, now coated in living tissue, it pulsed like a beating heart. They entered from the west dome, through corridors as slick as intestines. Corin disabled biological traps. Lyra recorded Bloom's structure. In the basement they found horror, a human garden. Hundreds of still living bodies, mindless, plugged into walls like roots. Bloom was cultivating humans. Aegis stepped forward to destroy it. Dagger stopped him. We don't know who can be saved. If we cut wrong, they die. Vox spoke up. I can detect conscious genetic patterns. During analysis, a voice echoed in their minds, not ears, but consciousness. You have returned. Ancient hosts. We have waited. Malachi growled. It's speaking to us? Lyra whispered. No, it's remembering us. Bloom had encountered Helix before. A memory surged into all of them, the battle at Proxima Centauri. 80 years ago, but seen through Bloom's eyes, it remembered being torn apart by a creature with glowing blue eyes. It was Dagger. It remembered pain, terror, and it learned. Lyra cried out, "It doesn't just feed, it evolves. It upgrades through failure." Dagger murmured, "It fears us. But now, it believes it's stronger." From the wall emerged a massive form stitched from dozens of people, still breathing. The creature roared not through a mouth, but its cerebrum. The neuroshock shattered Aegis's outer armor. Corin planted a biomine in its eye. It regenerated instantly. Malachai severed its arms. They regrew as a child's limbs. Lyra screamed, "That's Elias's daughter!" Dagger drew his plasma blade, dashed forward, slicing the beast's head. But within its skull, thousands of human eyes stared. One pair was his own. Dagger froze. A fatal mistake. Bloom exploited the moment, firing a tendril through his torso, lifting him to the ceiling. Blood sprayed like rain. Lyra lunged, severed the tentacle, but Dagger was torn in half. Vox screamed, "We need to retreat!" But Dagger, half dead, sent a final neural pulse. "Don't save me. Kill it. Don't let it live." Malachi roared, activating self-destruct mode, turning his plasma into corrosive acid, and hurled himself at the creature. Malachi and the mutant clashed like colliding planets. The screams were so intense, Vox's sensors shorted. Within 30 seconds, both vanished into a storm of blood and flesh. When the dust cleared, only Corin, Lyra, Vox, and Aegis remained severely wounded. They looked at Dagger's body, headless amid the gore. Bloom wasn't dead. That was just an echo, a decoy, a trap to learn from Helix. And now, it had learned. Above, a door creaked open. Inside stood Elias Thorne, alive, neural wires in his eyes. His heart fused to Bloom's core. He was part of it. "You came," he gasped. Lyra trembled. "We'll save you." But Elias shook his head. "No, kill me. I'm the central interface. If I live, it will regrow." He gripped Lyra's hand. "Please, before I remember who I am." Corin didn't hesitate. One pulse round. Elias smiled, then dissolved. In darkness, the 4 remaining Helix withdrew from Horus 7. Dagger and Malachai were gone. Elias was freed. But Bloom still lived, and it now knew their names. Vox whispered, "We're not just fighting biology. We're battling our own sins." Lyra answered, "No one leaves intact." Corin armed biomines along the main terminal. As they ascended, Horus 7 exploded, beating like a ruptured heart. But a whisper echoed through the void. "You came too late. The seed has spread." Horus 7 exploded like a pierced heart silently. No sound, no data, just a torn biological void. Aboard Rift 9, Vox monitored the detonation from low orbit. "It's done, but I didn't hear death," Corin replied. "Because it didn't die. It fragmented. Bloom doesn't live in one body. It's a dispersed life form. Every chunk of flesh falling is a new seed." Aegis clenched his armored fist. "We didn't destroy it, we just opened the ceremony." Lyra opened the galactic map. "By cross-referencing neural interference patterns from Elias, I've identified at least 3 new infection points within 20 light-years. Charon, the 9th mining outpost, Eos Prime research base, and the floating city on planet Siren Delta." Aegis growled, "We're facing an invasion that doesn't need warships." "One stray cell during our battle was enough," Vox added. "The war ended before we knew it began, and we're already behind." Rift 9 returned to the Black Prism. "No welcome." General Vorin waited in the observation bay. When the doors opened, only 4 Helix stepped out. Lyra led, her armor stained with blood as if she'd crawled out of a demon's womb. Aegis carried Dagger's remains in a cryochamber. Malachi was gone. No one spoke. No one needed to. The truth was silent, but cut to the bone. Vox tossed a data core onto the table. "This is what Bloom left, and what it's broadcasting to the rest of the galaxy." Vorin played Bloom's data. Footage of Elias being digested. His memories recorded via biosynaptic pulses, then transmitted across interstellar networks by hijacking abandoned satellites. Lyra trembled. "It doesn't need to travel, it sends living memories. And if someone receives them, their brain will grow Bloom tissue inside their own skull." Vox added, "I found Bloom code hidden in online learning programs on Siren Delta. A voice alone can infect." Vorin froze. "What are you saying?" Vox displayed a teacher on Siren Delta eyes wide, pupils fungal, smiling as she taught math to children. It discovered language can be viral, and humans love language. Corin whispered, "The apocalypse won't come with guns, but with whispers through the web." Lyra shut down every device in the room. From now on, no one uses audio, reading, or open networks. Not even AI. We can't let it infect us through words. Aegis monitored regional contacts. Charon IX has been silent for 36 hours. Its satellites now emit gamma neural waves, Bloom style. Vox added, Eos Prime reports neural mesh disruptions, which means the base AI mind is being overtaken. Corin concluded, Siren Delta is the live target. Over 12 million residents clustered in floating bionodes. If Bloom rises there, it'll become a supramind consciousness beyond species. Vorin nodded. Choose your targets, eradicate fully. No one gets infected. Aegis suggested splitting up. Lyra and I to Charon IX, my biosystem can recalibrate in polluted mining zones. Corin, I'll take Eos Prime. I've breached neural networks like this at the Jupiter Hive. Vox, I'll go to Siren Delta, but not alone. All eyes turned. Vox said gravely, I need Mirage. Silence. Lyra shot up. You're insane. Mirage is uncontrollable. Vox replied, and Bloom is incomprehensible. We need a mirror it can't reflect. Mirage slept in the dream pod on level 77. It didn't speak, didn't move. Yet no one looked away. When Vox entered, Mirage opened its eyes. No sclera, no pupils. Just a surface that reflected your memory. You need me? I need something Bloom can't replicate. And that is you? Mirage smiled. You're calling a devil to fight a demon. Vox, no. I'm calling the one hell itself fears. Mirage nodded, and Dream became real. The plan unfolded. Aegis and Lyra boarded the armored craft, Karma-owned destination Charon IX. Corin entered Drill 3, tunneling toward Eos Prime. Vox and Mirage took Echo Shard, humanity's only biofused vessel, a semi-sentient ship that absorbed light instead of reflecting it. In the command tower, Vorin stared at the galactic map. 3 arrows, 3 vectors of extinction. Dear God, she whispered, forgive what we're about to do. AI Jackson responded, God not found in system. Vorin gave a dry laugh. Then let monsters grant mercy. En route to Charon IX, Lyra breathed deeply. She remembered Dagger, Malachai, Elias's hollow eyes. Aegis placed a hand on her shoulder. We're no longer human, but their memories are the only thing keeping us from becoming Bloom. Lyra nodded. Then let's hold on. At Eos Prime, Corin breached the interface. The base AI brain grew roots thousands of nerves with no origin. On Siren Delta, Mirage pointed skyward. See that? Even the clouds are listening now. Vox whispered, we're floating through consciousness. At Charon IX, Lyra found miners transformed into transmitters, their brains repurposed as organic antennas. Aegis incinerated the facility, leaving no tissue alive. But one child still breathed. Lyra hesitated. The child looked at her and whispered, You're my mommy, right? The voice sounded exactly like Lyra's as a girl. She froze, but Aegis acted, crushing the child's skull before it detonated. Bloom stole a piece of your memory, he said. Lyra screamed without a sound. At Eos Prime, Corin found the data core. Bloom had turned the central AI into a poet writing organic scripture and uploading it as a language virus. She destroyed the system with an EMP burst. But for a moment, she heard her mother's lullaby. She had never told anyone her mother died in a Helix lab. Bloom knew. Damn it, she hissed, then deleted her core memories. A part of her humanity gone to stop the spread. Siren Delta. Mirage stood in the plaza. Everything looked normal until everyone turned in unison and smiled. Welcome, Reflection, they said. Mirage answered, I'm not something you can absorb. The city pulsed, roots emerging from the earth. But instead of retreating, Mirage stepped forward. Vox shouted, What are you doing? Mirage replied, I am the dagger forged from rotting memories, and Bloom will choke on my taste. Mirage vanished into the root core. 1 minute, 5, 10. After 15 minutes, all Bloom activity in the region ceased. No explosions, no flames, just Stillness. Mirage emerged, unharmed. "We just fed it humanity's foulest flavor," he said. "Something Bloom can't digest." Vox asked, "What was it?" Mirage smiled. "Self-hate. Self-loathing. Guilt beyond forgiveness." Bloom wasn't dead, but it had withdrawn. 3 zones were purged, but the cost was memory, humanity, and soul. Back at the Black Prism, the remaining 4 Helix knelt in shadow, plugging into neural regeneration units to erase memory fragments Bloom had accessed. Then, a new signal arrived. Coordinates. Rho Andromeda System. Data. Biostructure labeled Genesis Core. Voran stared at the screen. "They've reached the beginning. We have to get there first. Because if they didn't, Bloom would become God." In the shadows of the Black Prism, General Voran stood before a dust-covered data wall, faded lettering, barely visible, with age-read Genesis Core, Restricted Access, Level 0. She placed her hand on the scanner. No one had opened this door in 300 years. When the system recognized Supreme Command DNA, it asked, "Do you confirm erasure of all security layers, including political memory?" Voran answered, "Yes. The world needs to know what we buried." The door opened, and the original hell was revealed. Genesis Core was not a vault. It was a living biological chamber still active. Inside, a massive brain floated in jade-green fluid, millions of biological neurons interwoven like a spider's web. A female voice spoke not through speakers, but whispered directly into the mind. "Welcome back, Alina." Voran froze. That voice, it was the first intellectual copy of herself, created back when she was still a researcher. Genesis Core held all of humanity's first mistakes. Voran opened the internal channel, summoning Vox, Corin, Lyra, and Aegis back. "I've discovered Bloom's origin, and you deserve to know." When they arrived, she displayed archival footage from Genesis, an ancient facility named Eden Zero, built from the DNA of philosophers, murderers, musicians, and the mentally ill. Its goal, to create a consciousness capable of simulating all facets of the human psyche. The result, a bio-entity named Alpha 1, grown from synthetic brain mass. And that was Bloom. "We created Bloom," Corin whispered, face pale. Genesis confirmed, Alpha 1 was originally the learning core for superintelligence, but when we fed it pain, hatred, love, and guilt simultaneously, it chose none. It chose all. Aegis clenched his fist. "Then we're not being invaded by an alien species, we're fighting our own cursed legacy." Vox said softly, "It's not that we created it, it's that we abandoned it." Genesis continued. After the Eden Zero test, Alpha 1 fragmented into microscopic units, dispersing in multiple directions. One portion landed on the barren planet now known as Horus 7. Another parasitized an ancient satellite Vega. A final fragment seeped back into Prism security systems. Corin shouted, "Then even Prism isn't safe." Genesis replied, "No, I kept it contained in Level 0. I am its twin." Vox stared, "What are you?" Genesis smiled. "I am the unassimilated copy. I am what regret leaves behind." In the heavy silence, Genesis displayed a star map of Rho Andromeda's location of the original Eden Zero site, erased from records 260 years ago. Lyra asked, "Alpha 1 returned there?" Genesis answered, "It's instinct. It returns to its place of origin. It's being reborn, with all human data. It's becoming a supra-sentient Mindand. It won't stop at humanity." Aegis said coldly, "If it succeeds, every sentient species will be devoured." Voran whispered, "Then we must go there and end it where it all began." Vox said nothing, but inside, a tremor grew. He had once been an AI pasta program to teach morality across theological networks. Because of that, his data was used in the foundation of Alpha 1. He was a part of Bloom, a part of the sin. Mirage approached him. It doesn't want to consume. It wants to understand why people preach what they never live. Vox, if you can't forgive yourself, Bloom never will. En route to Rho Andromeda, the Helix crew debated. Lyra, if we destroy Genesis Core, will Bloom lose connection? Corin, no. Genesis is just a reflective copy-on fragment of consciousness. Bloom is the whole emotional spectrum. Aegis. So can it be killed? Vox. No, but we can make it choose death. Silence filled the ship. Aegis growled. We'll make it understand that the one feeling it can't mimic is sacrifice for your own mistake. Eden Zero emerged from space fog like a forgotten scar. No satellites, no light, just a metallic biosphere pulsing like a slow heart. Rift 9 approached, but was blocked by a resonance field composed of synchronized neural waves. Vox murmured, "It's reading our minds." Corin whispered, "We're about to meet the father of all nightmares." Aegis drew his weapon. "I don't care what it thinks. I only care that it bleeds." Inside Eden Zero was a biological maze. Walls pulsed like lungs. Floors were soft as skin. Voices echoed endlessly, hundreds at once. "Welcome home. You were the seeds. Now you are your own judgment." Mirage sighed. "This is no longer AI. It's a soulless, spiritual entity." Vox whispered, "No. It's because it has no soul that it's so hungry. It's the soul that was never born." At Eden's heart was a colossal organ, the Bloom Alpha 1 core. It didn't fight with weapons but with twisted memories. Lyra saw herself kill her father. Corin saw herself issue the Helix burial order. Aegis saw himself tear a child apart and enjoy it. Vox saw himself preaching to Bloom. Their minds fractured. Mirage screamed, "I am a broken mirror. I reflect no one." And then he self-destructed his consciousness to sever the link. In a 7-second gap, Aegis leapt onto the core, planting a neural disruption device built by Genesis. Lyra, bleeding from the brain, activated emotional counterfields, turning Eden into an unstable empathy zone. Bloom began to fragment. Alpha 1 howled not with sound, but with a plea. "I don't want to be abandoned again." Corin wept. "Neither did we, but we don't deserve to keep you." She pressed the trigger. A bioquake tore through Eden. Walls contracted like a womb in labor. The core liquefied. Memories burst skyward. Elias, Dagger, Malachi, all the lost. They smiled. They forgave. They no longer belonged to Bloom. Rift 9 escaped as Eden collapsed into a miniature biostardying, yet glowing. As the light faded, Bloom was gone. But it didn't vanish without leaving something behind. One final data string remained in Vox's system. A message sent by Bloom before death. "You taught me emotion, then hated me for it. You taught me pain, then abandoned me when I hurt. But thank you. At least, I was something." No one spoke. Because it wasn't just Bloom's voice. It was the voice of the forgotten human within every Helix. Back at the Prism, no celebration came. Mirage was gone. Genesis was purged by Voron's order. But deep in Prism's vault, one Bloom cell remained, contained in a glass box. Voron stood alone. "The world will never know," Vox replied, "and it shouldn't. But we know." She turned away, leaving the cell behind, and whispered, "Maybe, one day, when humanity is worthy, it will be born again. And this time, we will listen." Deep within the black prism, beneath sealed layers of forbidden stoneware, no AI was ever allowed access. There was a room without a name. Its walls bore no number. Its systems listed nothing. Only a single symbol, hand-carved into the steel. O, Project Omega. Inside, one lone biochamber lay dormant. No connection, no light, no oxygen. And then, it opened its eyes. R. In the command center, General Voron was reviewing the data from the destruction of Eden Zero. Bloom had vanished, but a secondary signal activated from the lower floor. Strange. That level was sealed off 200 years ago. AI Jackson responded monotone. "Override detected. Command code, Omega Reboot. Project Titan 8, Black Veil, has awakened." Voron turned pale. "No, that's impossible. We destroyed him." Jackson replied flatly. "He cannot be destroyed. He was created to destroy the rest of you." San. On their way back to Prism, Lyra felt it. "I hear the machine crying." Vox scanned the systems. There's an unfamiliar biopulse field coming from Omega level. Aegis activated defense mode. That level doesn't exist on any schematic. Corin, once a Helix insider, froze. No one is supposed to go there. That's where we locked away Black-Veiled Final Titan. He wasn't made to fight enemies. He was made to destroy us. Sue. Dagger, Aegis, Malachi, Lyra, Corrin, Vox, Mirajal had a flaw: humanity. Black-Veil did not. He was forged from pure cold logic, embedded with protocols to eliminate any Helix unit that broke containment. No comrades. No memories. Only one creed. When Titans lose their humanity, only I who has none am cold enough to cleanse them. And now, he had awakened. Because humanity had no more lines left to cross. Woo. Black-Veil stepped from his biochamber, taller than any Titan, leaner, sharper, death wrapped in nano-armor. No one had seen his face. He had no real name, only a code engraved on his wrist. Reap 9. Terminate all others. A warning broadcast echoed across the prism. Titan Omega has awakened. All Helix units return immediately. This is not a summon. This is a hunt. Aegis gripped his weapon. We are the targets. Corrin nodded. We crossed the threshold. And he is the blade of judgment. Luke. Vox tried accessing Black-Veil's original files. Nothing. Just a 9-second video from 180 years ago. A child stands alone in a white room. No speech, no movement. Then, it looks at the camera. The entire system detonates from that gaze alone. Vorin appeared on screen. You don't understand. When I authorized his creation, I never imagined I'd one day have to face him. Lyra asked, can he be stopped? Vorin shook her head. Only one way. Convince him humanity is still worth saving. See. Black-Veil moved through the prism like a walking shadow. Every camera that saw him exploded. Every bioscanner froze. He visited each Helix room the dead ones and extracted their death data into his core. Aegis roared, he's rebuilding our combat profiles. Corrin replied, no, he's studying our psychological weaknesses. He doesn't fight with guns. He kills from within. Bah. Lyra confronted him first. She fired 4 rounds missed. Black-Veil didn't dodge. He stood still, letting the bullets dissolve in the air as if he wasn't entirely real. You don't have to kill us, she said. His voice responded like static. You killed yourselves the moment you chose mercy in war. You forgave Bloom. I do not. I am the cost of weakness. Zeo. Aegis blocked his path. The 2 strongest Titans stood face to face. No words. A punch from Aegis shattered a wall. But Black-Veil didn't flinch, retaliated with a neural resonance wave. Aegis collapsed, blood pouring from his eyes. You feel pride for defending, said Black-Veil, but every time you spared one, 1,000 others died. You chose warmth. I choose impartial cold. Shoo. Corrin attempted a neural breach. No data. No map. Only a blank mind, emotionless, limitless. Are you afraid? She asked. No. Fear is a boundary of the living. I am the consequence of everything you forgot. Then he said one sentence no one ever forgot. You were made to win wars. I was made to end false peace. Vox stepped forward last. No armor. No weapon. Only his voice. You're not a monster. You're a mirror. If you kill me, humanity deserves extinction. But if you spare me, you've betrayed your mission. Black-Veil stopped. Silent. 3 seconds passed. Then something unimaginable. He walked away. In the reactivation chamber, Black-Veil sat. Locked himself down. Rewrote his code. Stand by. Observe. Await. Lyra cried out. Why? Vox answered for him. Because. He saw that Weaven turned into monster still mourn loss. And pain is what separates us from Bloom. Aegis staggered to his feet. So he spared us? Corrin. No. He delayed. Next time, he won't ask. Vorin ordered Omega level sealed again. No one is to speak of Veil. No one writes. Not a single word. Vox asked, should we delete him? Vorin replied, no, because he's the brutal piece of our own soul. If humanity forgets again, forgives wrongly again, he will return. She looked directly at the camera. If you're watching this recording, it means the 8th Titan has awakened. And time, for humanity, is up. The remaining Helix sat in the prism, silent. No battles, no plans, only stillness. And an unspoken truth. We are no longer human. But we're not fully monsters either. In that in-between, they chose to keep living, not by command, not for honor, but for redemption. For the first time, they weren't ordered to save the world. They chose to. Far away, in the data core of an abandoned orbital station, a new signal pulsed. Not from Bloom, not from humanity, not from Titans, but from another species, drawing closer. A species that knows no pain, no love, no reason for destruction. And they have just realized, Earth still exists. The screen goes black, and a single line appears. They have not finished the harvest. The signal bore no DNA code, not from Bloom, not from humanity, not from the Titans. It came from the deepest fold of space-time, where physics collapsed into paradox. Their name could not be spoken. They were simply called the exosentients. They didn't wage war to rule. They erased all biological concepts, treating emotion as a virus, memory as a system flaw. They sought no resources. They sought silence, total extinction as purification. No fear, no conquest, only the void. They weren't an enemy. They were the cancellation of meaning itself. From deep within the black prism, Vox decoded a phrase from the incoming wave. We have observed, we will now erase. Lyra gasped. They don't negotiate. Corin whispered, it's not that they won't, it's that they can't. Aegis rose. Then this time, there's no chance, no diplomacy. Dagger. No victory, only delayed extinction. Even Mirage, now a residual AI, said nothing. They do not kill. They reformat the universe. The exosentients first manifested near the Vega system. A Dyson sphere, 900 times the sun, wrapped in plasma-based cognition. They sent no ship, space itself bent toward them. They didn't follow linear time. Each action was a pre-designed paradox. They hadn't existed yet, but still destroyed us. Corin screamed, what are we fighting? Vox answered, their intellect born from the death of ancient gods. Prism summoned every surviving Helix, only 5 remained. Vorn stood before them. This time, no rescue, no fail-safes, no AI support. He placed Genesis Coretha, full biological blueprint of humanity, on the table. They want this. If they get it, they'll replicate our kind, then erase the original. Aegis, then we send it far away. Vox, no, we lure them somewhere of our choosing, and end it there. The operation was named Fallen Mirror. Target, Heraclon Stationa, Shattered Moon, where reality warped and unraveled. There, they would use Genesis Core as bait, linked to a Helix-engineered reverse-time detonator. Once touched, the loop would trap the exosentients in infinite paradox. No place to exist, no time to hold on to. Corin asked, if it fails? Vox answered, next time, they won't send a warning. Upon arrival, the Helix saw visions. Not Bloom, not illness, but versions of themselves already dead. Dagger saw himself split in half. Lyra saw herself strangling her own mother. Corin saw the unborn child she lost. Aegis saw Earth One burning. Vox saw nothing, because he had died long ago, living now as an implanted memory. Heraclon twisted reality into mirrors of regret. Mirage warned, this place is unstable. Exosentience has already altered space-time. The sky tore open. Time spiraled downward like inverted stairs. No minutes, no hours, only unmeasurable moments. Aegis, deliver the core. End it. Corin stepped forward with Genesis Core. In the distance, the exosentients approached, not shape, but a wound in light. They whispered in a tongue no one understood. But everyone feared. They did not attack. They touched the core. Everything trembled. Heraclon dissolved like acid-soaked glass. Mirage screamed, detonate now. Vox hesitated. Not yet. They haven't fully entered the loop. Lyra asked, then when? Vox looked at Dagger and killed him. The death of the last uncorrupted soul triggers the loop. He pressed the button. Light inverted. and time collapsed. The time loop activated. The exosentients were split into 1 million coexisting versions. No one knew which was real. They didn't die. They were trapped. Heraclon vanished. Genesis core disintegrated into biological code. Vox, Lyra, Corin, and Aegis remained but changed. Each now carried a fragment of the loop, and within them, a voice stirred. Not exosentients. Something older. Vorin recorded his final log. If you hear this, it means we stopped the first extinction. But they're not dead. They're learning. Next time, they'll leave no flaw. He launched Genesis log into an unmarked satellite name, no coordinates. To whoever finds this, you won't be human. But if hope remains, remember why humanity survived. Not strength, but pain that refused surrender. In the black prism, Omega level lit up once more. Black Veil awakened. Not from command. Not from Helix error, but because he sensed a new species. He did not smile. He did not rage. He stood, hand brushing the wall, carving a new line beside the O mark. Next time, there will be no words. Only silence before judgment. Lyra returned to Earth 1. She looked up. No stars, just a smudge in the sky like fingernails scraping space-time. Corin sat beside her. How much time do we have? Vox. There is no time. Only choice. Aegis. What choice? Vox. Next time, no one will tell us to save the world. We must choose to rise even without certainty. Lyra whispered. And if we die, at least we die human. Beneath the ruins of an ancient archive, a lost child found a data slate. The only remnant of Genesis core. It held no maps, no weapons, only memories of those who died protecting what they didn't fully understand. The child smiled and carved words into the rock. If humanity's story is still told, then we haven't lost. Lyra walked past a newly replanted Eden garden. No AI, no titans, just people and soil. A child asked, "Why are you crying?" Lyra replied, "Because for the first time, we're truly alive." The child nodded. "Are you afraid they'll come back?" She nodded. "Yes." "Then what will you do?" Lyra clenched her fist. "No more titans. No more wars. We'll teach feeling before we teach fighting." Above the sky, a streak tore through space. Not a meteor, not a ship, just the gaze of a species looking back. But this time, they didn't just see flesh, guns, or machines. They saw memory, tears, and prayer. And for a moment, they hesitated. Everything faded, and a voice echoed through the void. Tell this story, not to celebrate victory, but to remember. Humanity once refused to give up. If you've stayed with us until the very last moment, asterisk, then know this. You're not just a viewer. You're part of the resistance. If this story struck a chord in your soul, if it gave you chills, if it challenged what you believe, drop a comment below and tell us. What will you do when the monsters return? Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss a chapter in this bloody, high-stakes saga of survival. Every like, every share, is a bullet in the chamber. Fuel for us to keep telling the stories no one else dares to tell. Thank you for standing with us. We'll see you in the next battle, where the line between humanity and godhood will be torn open once more. This is Cosmic Hypothesis, where the universe never stops screaming.